So you have joined from P to S, and as discussed earlier, P is a point where one of the arbitrary mass is fixed, and based upon this we will get the new position of the other mass. So what is that? So as per the equation for dynamic equivalent system, we can see that GS represents the radius of gyration, and you have joined from P to S. Now the thing that we will be doing is that with PS as the base, we will be erecting one perpendicular. So we will be drawing one line which will be perpendicular to PS, and let this point be D, small d. So this point is D. So we are seeing that, you can see that the total mass of the connecting rod, which was concentrated at the point G, has been distributed into two positions, one at the point P, another at the point D, in such a way that all the dynamic equivalent conditions remains satisfied, or these conditions are actually being fulfilled. So what are these conditions? Again, if I say the conditions are M1 plus M2 equal to M, M1 L1 plus M2 equal to ML, and M1 L1 square plus M2 L2 square equal to MK square. So based upon this, we have seen that it ultimately gives us the equation L1 into L2 equal to K square, and we have also seen the vectorial representation of this equation L1 into L2 equal to K square, which is also being shown by this diagram. So here again I am repeating, we can see that what we are doing is we are erecting a perpendicular on the line PS, and this perpendicular meets the connecting rod PC at the point D. So P and D, these are the two separate points where the total mass of the system are distributed. So as per the notion, basic notion, we have to assume that whatever mass is there at the point P, that will be responsible for translational motion, and whatever mass is there at the point D, that will be responsible for rotational motion. And the resultant of both this is actually at the point G, which is responsible for a combinational motion. Now with the help of this, we have to find out what will be the direction of inertia force acting on the system. So for that, we have to draw two parallel lines from the point D. Remember, from the point D, draw a line parallel to the line of stroke PO, which is okay, let this point be capital D. So from this point capital D, we will draw a line parallel to the line of stroke, which will intersect CN at certain point. So we are drawing one parallel line, and it intersects CN at the point, let small d. Let us consider it to be small d. So capital D small d is parallel to PO. Similarly, from the point G, we will draw a line parallel to the line of stroke, and which intersects CN at the point small g. Here, so this concept is basically what we are using to find out the position of D and G in the main acceleration diagram. So capital D is represented by small point D, and capital G is represented by small point G. We can also represent this analytically by using the relation capital DC divided by PC equal to small dc divided by Cn. We can also use this relation to find out the position of D and G, but we have used one simple vectorial approach. That means by drawing two parallel lines, we can get the position for D and G. Now let us talk about the acceleration of D and G. Acceleration of P is already known to us, that either this will move in this way or in the opposite direction. But we should know about the acceleration of D and G. Now if I say what is the acceleration of D, then again three answers will be evolving out. What are those? Number one, acceleration of D with respect to C. Acceleration of D with respect to P. Another is acceleration of D with respect to fixed point O. So what we are interested about is about finding the absolute acceleration of D. So that means with respect to the fixed point O. So in this acceleration diagram, C, Q and O, what will be the acceleration of D with respect to O? Simply join D to O. Simply join D to O, and this line gives us the acceleration of D with respect to O. Similarly, if I say what will be the acceleration of G with respect to O, this will be the line joining point G to O. So this is the direction. So what is the direction of acceleration of D with respect to O? That is DO. What is the direction of acceleration of G with respect to O? That is GO, and both of them are acting in this way. Now comes the main part, that what is the actual use of finding the position for D and G. Now let us see. So we can see that the total mass G that we are talking about is divided into two separate masses. One is P, which is having independent translational motion, and another is capital D at the position capital D, which is having independent rotational motion. Now let us see that how with the help of these two independent masses which are having specific independent properties, we can find out the actual direction of acceleration or inertia force of the connecting rod. So our next step will be, from the point D, capital D, we'll draw a line parallel to small do. I am repeating, from D, capital D, draw a line parallel to small do and intersecting line of stroke. So what we will do is that from the point D, we will draw a line parallel to DO intersecting the line of stroke PO. So that means I can draw this line, parallel line, and it intersects here. This line, let the point be F. Let this point be F, capital F. So what is DF? DF is a line which is parallel to small du and intersecting the line of stroke at F. So you have got this position. So what is this F actually? This is the main mass G, divided separately into two masses P and capital D. Now both of them will have their own function. P will be responsible for translational motion, D will be responsible for rotational motion. Now let us see what is the effect of both these masses separately. Now what is the line of action of P? At any point of time, whether the theta is acute angle or obtuse angle, the line of action of P will always be, or if I say more precisely, the direction of acceleration of P, more precisely it will be from P to O, or in the reverse direction, that means from O to P. So it means that the acceleration will always be along this line OP or PO as per the position of the crank. Similarly, if I say what will be the acceleration of D, the acceleration of D, that means the image of acceleration of D along the line of stroke will be at this point F always. If P is starting from here, then the representation of D, which was actually in the connecting rod, this can be represented along the line of stroke at the point F. That means, again I am repeating, if the impression of the first mass is at point P, the impression of the second mass along the line of stroke will be at the point F. So why I am talking about this impression? This is because of the fact that when you are analyzing two separate things, one having a translational motion, another having a rotational motion, and you want that both of them should create the same effect, then you have to transfer both of them from different platform to that of a single platform. So what is that single platform? The single platform is the line of stroke. I am actually converting both the motions that we are talking about into a common motion, or I am finding out the replica of both the motion into that of a common motion, and that is along the line of stroke. So we can see that the acceleration of P with respect to O is represented by this line along this position, and the acceleration of D, this rotating mass, will be represented by this point F. So these are the two independent directions of the two arbitrarily placed masses. Now what will be the direction of the resultant? The direction of the resultant of both these masses is actually the direction of inertia force for the connecting rod. So that means when I can see that BF and PO gets intersected at the point F, that means now with respect to point F, we have to draw a line parallel to OG. We have to draw a line parallel to OG in the reverse direction. That means parallel to this line in the reverse direction. And this gives us the direction of inertia force of the connecting rod. This is giving us the direction of inertia force on the connecting rod. Again I am repeating the step. What to do? If the total mass is concentrated at the point G, we are dividing into two independent masses P and D, and the next step we are interested to find out the direction of acceleration of P as well as D. Fine. So what will be the direction of acceleration of P? Either from P towards O or from O towards P, depending upon the position of the crank. What will be the acceleration of D? We have to transfer the image of D in the acceleration diagram, D. So this is small d, and then we are joining D to O. So this is the acceleration of D with respect to O. Similarly, we can say what is the acceleration of G with respect to O. We have transferred the position of G in the acceleration diagram, and then GO is the direction of acceleration. Next step, from the point D, capital D, we are drawing a line parallel to small do, such that it represents the direction of acceleration of D along the line of stroke PO, because this is very important. Because we want to find out, what we are doing here is that we are assuming an opposite approach. What is that opposite approach? Initially, for the main mass, if we can find out the direction of acceleration, opposite to the direction of acceleration will be the inertia force. But here there is a problem. What is that problem? The problem is the mass that we are talking about is not having a fixed type of movement. That means either it should purely translate or it should rotate, but it is having a mixed movement. So at any point of time, finding out the position or finding out the acceleration is somewhat difficult, because this acceleration will always have the two components. One is the tangential component, another is the radial component. Same thing we have applied here. What we have done, we have divided this mass into two independent masses at P and D, and you see that P, this line, this is representing the tangential component, and this line D to F, this is representing the radial component. So from the main mass we are finding out the component of both the masses, and we see that the component for both the masses get intersected at a certain point. So it is assumed that from that point of intersection F, whatever inertia force is there, that will be again of the main mass. So both of them are intersecting at the point F, and again from point F will have the actual direction of inertia force. So how you are drawing this line? This line is actually opposite to that of small g O. So opposite to that of small g, obviously if it is the direction of acceleration, so the inertia force will be acting in this way. So this gives us the direction of inertia force. Now there will be a question that, sir, why this inertia force is not passing through the point G? This is mainly because of the fact that I am again repeating that you have heard about the term Coriolis component of acceleration. It says that whenever a link is having two different types of motion, one is rotational as well as translational, we will see that when the system is translating, that will be followed by some amount of movement during that will be followed by some amount of movement through rotation also. So that means the position you cannot fix. When I mean position, it means if it is a rotational motion, the position at any point of time will be along the locus of a circle. If it is translational, the position will be always along the line of movement. But if it is having a mixed movement, like this, there is a link which is translating as well as this is rotating. So at the next level, the position of the link will be here. You can see. Why? If it is purely rotating, it should have been here. Or if it is purely translating, the link should be here and the position should have been here, but it is not happening. So both the things are occurring simultaneously. There is a rotation, there is a translation. So the body gets shifted to some point. Same thing is happening here. This is the total center of gravity, but it is being shifted. Why? Because of this Coriolis component of acceleration. At any point of time, it will not have any pure tangential component or any pure rotational component. That will be a mixed component. Clear? That's why this gets shifted. So this gives us the direction of the inertia force on the connecting part. Next part.